Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. When a man starts pulling away, when the texts get shorter, when the calls slow down, when he just seems less present, what is your first instinct? What do you do? Because here is what almost every woman does. She chases, she reaches out more, she tries to fill the silence. She starts replaying every conversation in her head, looking for what she did wrong. She gets louder, trying to compensate for him getting quieter. And here is the painful irony. The very thing she is doing to pull him back is the exact thing that is pushing him further away. Not because she is doing something wrong as a person, but because nobody told her the truth about what is actually happening when a man pulls away, and nobody gave her the right tools to respond. And that is exactly what we are doing today. Welcome to Love Psychology Secrets, where we do not do surface level advice. We go deep, we go real. If you are new here and you are serious about understanding relationships, love, and human psychology at a level that actually changes how you show up, hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like. It genuinely helps more people find this content. All right, let us get into it. Now, before we talk about the 5 mistakes, I want to reframe the whole conversation because most people are answering the wrong question. When a man pulls away, everyone wants to know, how do I get him to come back? And I understand that. I get it. But that is actually the second question. The first question, the one that actually matters, is why is he pulling away in the first place? Because here is the thing people get wrong about this. Pulling away is not one thing. It is not one size fits all. There are at least 3 completely different reasons a man might pull away, and each one requires a totally different response. If you treat them all the same, you are going to keep getting the same frustrating result. And this is where most popular dating advice falls completely flat. It gives you a one-size-fits-all answer to a 3-dimensional problem. Here is the first reason a man pulls away. He is processing something internally. Men in general are not wired to process emotion the way women are. Research in developmental psychology has shown for decades that women tend to process emotion socially, meaning you feel better by talking about it, by sharing it, by connecting. Men tend to process emotion privately, meaning they need to go inward, get quiet, and work through it alone before they can come back and be present. This is not him shutting you out. This is him doing what he naturally does when he is under pressure. Whether it is work stress, family stuff, something he is wrestling with internally, his instinct is to retreat into his cave, deal with it, and then come back. And here is the critical part. If you respect that process, if you give him the space to do it, he comes back closer. If you do not, if you chase him into that cave, you trigger defensiveness, and now you have got a completely different problem. The second reason a man pulls away, he is losing interest, or something has shifted in how he feels about the dynamic. This one is painful to say, but it is important that I do not gloss over it. Sometimes a man pulling away is a signal, not an invitation to chase, but a signal that something is off. Either his feelings have cooled or something about the dynamic has changed his level of investment. This is a real possibility and it deserves to be acknowledged honestly. And the third reason, he is pulling back strategically to test the dynamic, to see how you respond, to gauge how much power or emotional investment you have given away. Some men do this consciously, some unconsciously, but it happens. Now, and this is critical, do you see why a blanket response makes no sense? Because if he is pulling away for reason 1, internal processing, and you chase him, you have disrupted something that was going to resolve itself naturally. If he is pulling away for reason 2, genuine cooling of interest, chasing him will only confirm that you are more invested than he is, which gives you 0 leverage and 0 dignity. And if it is reason 3, he is testing, chasing, confirms exactly what he was hoping to find out. So here is the reframe I want you to walk away with today. Your goal is not to stop him from pulling away. Your goal is to understand what kind of pull away this is and then respond in a way that serves you regardless of what his next move turns out to be. That is what a high value response looks like, not a strategy to get him back. A response that protects your energy, maintains your dignity, and actually creates the conditions for attraction to return if it is still there. Okay? With that foundation laid, let us talk about the 5 mistakes. And I want to be honest with you, these are not character flaws. These are normal human responses to anxiety and fear. I am not here to judge anyone, but they are mistakes, and understanding why they are mistakes is what gives you the power to choose differently. Mistake number one, the overcommunication spiral. This is the most common one, and I see it constantly. The moment she senses him pulling back, she fills the silence. She sends the "Hey, you okay?" text. Then a few hours later, just checking in. Then the next day, "I feel like something is off between us. Can we talk?" Then maybe a longer message explaining how she feels or asking where they stand. And each message that goes unanswered or gets a short reply adds more anxiety, which creates more messages. It is a spiral. And I want you to understand why it happens, because it is not random. When we experience relational anxiety, when someone we care about seems to be withdrawing, our nervous system reads that as a threat. And the nervous system's job is to resolve threats. So it pushes you toward action. Do something, reach out, make contact, restore connection. That impulse is completely human. It is wired into us because connection is a survival need. This is not weakness. This is biology. But here is the problem. The action your nervous system is pushing you toward is often the exact action that makes the situation worse. Think about it like this. Imagine you are holding a piece of wet paper. What happens the tighter you grip it? It falls apart. The harder you hold on, the more it disintegrates. Attraction, especially male attraction in the early to mid stages of a relationship, works similarly. The more you squeeze, the less there is to hold on to. Now, here is what nobody talks about. The overcommunication spiral does not just push him further away, it also costs you, because every text you send while he is quiet is a piece of your dignity and your power that you are handing over without any guarantee of return. And the longer this goes on, the worse you feel, not because of what he is doing, but because of what you are doing to yourself. I was talking with someone recently. She was about 3 months into dating this guy. Things were going well, and then he suddenly got distant. Took longer to respond, was short when he did, had reasons to not see her that weekend. And she went into overdrive. She sent 11 messages over 4 days. 11. By day 4, she had effectively interviewed herself out of the job. Not because she did anything wrong at the start, but because her fear response made her look like someone who could not self-regulate. And self-regulation is one of the most attractive qualities a person can demonstrate. The practical takeaway here is this. When he goes quiet, let him be quiet. Send one message, warm, light, low pressure, something like, "Hey, hope your week is going well. No rush, just thinking of you." And then, and this is the hard part, you stop. You do not wait by the phone. You go live your life. You go be the person you were before this man was in the picture. Because here is the truth. A man who is pulling back to process something will come back on his own when he is ready. And a man who does not come back after you have given him space, that tells you everything you need to know without you having to send 11 messages to figure it out. Mistake number 2, seeking reassurance from the wrong place. When a man pulls away, one of the most natural things to do is reach out to your friends, your sister, your group chat. You screenshot the last few texts. You lay out the whole situation. You ask what everyone thinks it means. And everybody weighs in. Everybody has an opinion. And you leave that conversation more confused than when you started. Because half of them say, "Girl, leave him alone. He needs space." And the other half say, "No, you need to communicate. Stop playing games." And now you are paralyzed. I am not saying do not talk to your people. Your support system matters. But here is the mistake. You are outsourcing the interpretation of your own relationship to people who are not in it. And beyond that, and this is the part people really do not want to hear, most of the people in your circle are going to give you advice that is filtered through their own experiences, their own wounds, their own relationship patterns. Your friend who was cheated on is going to read his silence as a red flag. Your friend who is currently in the honeymoon phase of a new relationship is going to tell you to go grand gesture it. Their advice says more about them than it does about your situation. There is a concept I want to introduce here, self-validation. The ability to sit with uncertainty without needing someone else to tell you what it means or what to do is one of the most powerful emotional skills you can develop. Not because you shut people out, but because you trust yourself enough to observe, to feel, and to decide not to panic, not to catastrophize, but to actually sit with the discomfort and say, I do not know what this means yet, and I can be okay with not knowing. Think about it like this. Imagine a doctor who, every time they were unsure about a diagnosis, ran out to ask every colleague in the hallway and then treated the patient based on whatever the most recent opinion was. You would not trust that doctor, right? You want a doctor who sits with the available information, draws on their own knowledge and judgment, and makes a considered decision. You have to be that doctor in your own life. The practical takeaway, give yourself a boundary with the group chat. Vent once if you need to, and then close the thread. And instead of asking, what does this mean? Ask yourself a better question. What do I actually want here? Not what does he want? Not what is he thinking? What do I want? Because when you are clear on what you want, you respond from a place of strength rather than a place of anxiety. Mistake number 3, trying to fix it with emotional intensity. This one is subtle, and it is one of the most counterproductive mistakes you can make, especially because it feels like the right thing to do. When a man pulls away, the impulse is often to have the talk, to bring everything to the surface, to say, I need to know where we stand. I need to know how you feel. I need to understand what is happening between us. And she brings emotional intensity to the conversation. Maybe she cries. Maybe she gets frustrated. Maybe she shows just how much this is affecting her. And here is why this feels right. Because in many contexts, vulnerability is powerful. Emotional honesty is healthy. Communication is good. And all of that is true in the right context at the right time with the right person. But when a man has pulled back, when he is already in his head or already cooling off, bringing heavy emotional intensity does not open him up. It shuts him down further. Here is the dynamic that is playing out underneath the surface. Men, particularly men who are conflict avoidant or emotionally guarded, experience emotional intensity from a partner as pressure, not as love, not as vulnerability, as pressure. And when they feel pressure, what do? They pull back more. So you are bringing this conversation hoping it will create connection, and instead it creates more distance. I want to be careful here because I am not telling you to suppress your feelings or pretend nothing is happening. That is not the point. The point is timing and calibration. There is a difference between saying what you feel from a place of self-awareness and groundedness and unleashing your anxiety on someone who is already half checked out. One of those creates intimacy, the other creates defense. I was talking to someone a while back. She had been with a guy for about 6 months. Things were great, and then he started slowing down. She sat him down and told him everything she was feeling, how scared she was, how much she cared, how confused she was, how she could not stop thinking about it. And she cried. And he sat there, got quieter and quieter, and a week later he ended things. Now, did her vulnerability cause him to leave? Not necessarily. Maybe he was already heading there. But the intensity of that conversation gave him zero reason to reconsider because he was not feeling connection in that moment. He was feeling weight. The practical takeaway, if you need to address what is happening, do it with calm directness rather than emotional overwhelm. Say what you mean in as few words as possible. I have noticed things feel different lately. I just want to be honest. I value what we have been building, and I am open to talking about it if you want to. And then stop. Let him respond. The conversation does not need to be a theatrical production. Clean, calm, honest. That is far more powerful. Mistake number 4, abandoning your own life to focus on his. This is the one that does the most long-term damage, not just to the relationship, but to you as a person. When a man starts pulling away, there is a tendency to put your own life on hold. You cancel plans thinking he might call. You stop going out because you are waiting to hear from him. You stop investing in your friendships, your hobbies, the things that bring you joy, because your emotional bandwidth is completely occupied by this one man and what he may or may not be feeling. And I want you to hear this clearly. That is not love. That is anxiety wearing love's mask. Love does not require you to shrink your entire world down to one person. Real love expands your life. It does not contract it. And when a man is pulling away, the absolute worst thing you can do is build your world smaller while he retreats from it. Because now you are sitting in a smaller world with less to do, less to think about, less to feel good about, and more mental real estate dedicated to someone who in that moment is not choosing to be fully present with you. Here is a truth that might sting a little. The version of you that is most attractive to a man, any man, is the version of you who is fully alive, who has her own passions, her own social life, her own purpose, not because it is a tactic, not because playing hard to get works, but because a person who is genuinely thriving is genuinely compelling. There is an energy to a woman who is living fully on her own terms that cannot be faked and cannot be manufactured. It just is. And when a man senses that you have withdrawn from your own life to orbit his, the attraction does not deepen, it fades. Think about it from a completely different angle. Imagine you have a friend and every time something goes wrong in their life, they completely abandon everything and just wait. They stop going to the gym. They stop seeing people. They just sit in their apartment and stew. You would love that friend, of course, but you would also at some level feel a kind of heaviness around them. You might even feel responsible for their emotional state in a way that starts to feel like a burden. The same dynamic plays out in romantic relationships. When someone's entire well-being is tethered to you, it is not flattering. It is suffocating. The practical takeaway, when he pulls away, that is your cue to lean into your own life harder. Not as a performance, not to make him jealous, but because your life is worth living regardless of whether he is present in it. Go do that thing you have been putting off. See those friends. Take that class. Get back in the gym, not for him, for you. Because when you reconnect with the fullness of who you are, two things happen. First, you feel better. Second, and this is just a natural consequence, not a strategy, you become more magnetic. And if there is anything left to be rekindled with him, a full, thriving, unbothered version of you is the best possible conditions for that to happen. Mistake number 5, misreading what his silence actually means. This is the deepest one, and it is the one that connects everything else. Because all of the previous mistakes flow from this one fundamental error, misinterpreting what his pulling away is communicating. Here is what most women hear when a man pulls away. I do not care about you. You are not enough. This is ending. You did something wrong. And that interpretation, which is often completely inaccurate, drives all of the fear-based behaviors we have been talking about. The overtexting, the emotional intensity, the abandonment of self. It all starts with a misread. Now, sometimes that reading is accurate. I said that at the beginning, and I am saying it again because I believe in being straight with you. Sometimes when a man pulls away, he is losing interest. That is real. But here is what is also real. Sometimes he is overwhelmed at work and does not have the bandwidth to be emotionally present. Sometimes he is going through something with his family and does not know how to articulate it. Sometimes the relationship has gotten intense quickly and his nervous system is recalibrating. Sometimes he is genuinely just in a quiet season internally and it has nothing to do with you. The mistake is not feeling uncertain when he pulls away. The mistake is feeling that uncertainty with the worst case story and then reacting to the worst case story as if it were established facts. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you are in a business meeting and a colleague goes quiet, stops contributing, seems disengaged. What would you think? Some people would immediately assume they are angry at me. They do not respect my work. I am about to be pushed out. Other people would observe, stay present, and wait to see what unfolds. Because silence in one moment does not always mean what we think it means. The person who panics and starts over-explaining their work, trying to fill the silence, trying to read everyone's faces, that person does not come across as confident. They come across as insecure. And insecurity invites condescension. The person who holds their ground, reads the room with calm intelligence, and waits for more information, that person has presence. And presence commands respect. Your romantic life is not different. When he goes quiet, the most powerful thing you can do is hold your own center. Do not collapse into anxiety. Do not construct a narrative around his silence and then emotionally react to the narrative you built. Observe, give it space. And then, when and if it is appropriate, have one clean, calm conversation. Not 11 texts, not a tearful confrontation, one grounded, honest conversation. And here is the part that I think is most important. Separate what his pulling away means about the relationship from what it means about you. Because even in the worst case scenario, even if he is genuinely losing interest, that is information about compatibility, about where he is in life, about what he wants right now. It is not a verdict on your worth. It is not evidence that you are not enough. You were enough before he came into your life. You will be enough after. Now, let me bring this home because I want to leave you with something you can actually use. We talked about 5 mistakes today: the overcommunication spiral, reaching out compulsively when silence creates anxiety, and how that compulsion costs you more than it gains you. Seeking reassurance from the wrong place, outsourcing your emotional interpretation to people who are not in your situation, rather than building the skill of sitting with uncertainty yourself. Trying to fix it with emotional intensity, bringing overwhelming emotional weight to a man who is already retreating, and understanding why calm directness is infinitely more powerful. Abandoning your own life to orbit his, and why the most attractive thing you can do when he pulls back is pull toward yourself. And misreading what his silence actually means, filling uncertainty with worst case stories, and then reacting to those stories as if they are facts. Here is the core message I want you to walk away with. When a man pulls away, your response is not about him. It is about you. It is about who you choose to be when things feel uncertain. It is about whether you trust yourself enough to hold your ground. It is about whether you are willing to be the kind of woman who does not need him to be consistent in order for you to be okay. And here is the counterintuitive truth at the center of all of this. The women who respond to a man pulling away by staying grounded, staying full, and staying focused on their own lives, those are the women who most often see men come back with renewed interest and real respect, not because they played games, but because they demonstrated something that cannot be faked: self-possession, the quiet, unshakable knowledge of their own value. That is what real attraction is built on. Not desperation, not anxiety, not chasing, self-possession. So here is the question I want to leave you with, and I want you to really sit with this one. If you knew with absolute certainty that how you respond right now was going to set the tone for every relationship you have for the rest of your life, what would you choose to do differently? Think about that. If this video gave you something real, a new way of thinking, a perspective shift, something you are going to carry with you, please give it a like. It genuinely helps this channel grow and reach the women who need this most. Subscribe to Love Psychology Secrets if you want content that goes deeper than what you are going to find anywhere else. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 5 mistakes hit closest to home. Let us talk about it. I read every one. I will see you in the next one.